Hi, thanks for joining me for this week's episode of Quick Business Tips. Is there any marketing task that inspires more dread, more awkwardness, and let's be honest, just complete and total procrastination any more than the dreaded follow-up? We've all been in a situation where we've had a fantastic conversation with a potential client. They've really seemed interested in what we're offering, and then we get nothing but crickets. So, what is it that you do next? How long do you wait before you reach out again? What do you say when you reach out? And that fear of a misstep or doing something that's considered wrong in their eyes, that fear of sounding pushy, desperate, or being a bother to them can be completely paralyzing. So today we are going to change the way you think about a follow-up and take it from feeling like that awkward preteen boy that's throwing rocks at the girl's window and turn it into something that feels more like a thoughtful, heartfelt gift that you're leaving at their front door. Something that's valuable, welcoming, and will continue to build on the brand new relationship that you just recently started. So let's talk about why this follow-up process can feel so icky to begin with. It usually boils down to two things: fear of being a bother. Nobody wants to be that person, that pushy salesperson that just will not leave you alone. And we're so afraid of being a bother to these clients that we really want to work with that we tend to overcorrect a lot of times. And instead, we do nothing or not enough. Or even worse, we send those really terribly ineffective messages that are quite honestly annoying. The other thing that can make a follow-up feel icky is that we're not really sure what we should say next. We don't want to say, hey, just following up or just checking in, or the really, really dreaded, so have you made a decision yet? But there are a lot of business owners who just don't know what else to say in these situations. And combination of these two together leads to a lot of anxiety, inaction, and ultimately lost dollars in your door. These potential clients who were genuinely interested in what we were offering can forget about you over time if you are not constantly showing up somewhere in their lives. They might choose a competitor that is doing the follow-up well, and they can start feeling like you just really don't care enough to check in and find out if they're ready to take the next steps. So when you think about that ineffective follow-up, the checking in kind of emails, or the slightly passive aggressive, just bumping this up to the top of your inbox kind of a thing, those are a lot like that teenage boy who's throwing rocks at the girls' windows. They're disruptive, they're unwelcome, they don't provide value, and they're just making noise. But what if instead of following up or checking in or chasing the sale, what if instead you viewed this as an opportunity to provide even more value to someone who hasn't bought anything from you yet? And an opportunity to take the relationship to an even deeper level. This is the core of going about these follow-ups as more of a heartfelt gift on the front doorstep type of approach. So instead of asking for something like, Are you ready to complete this sales transaction? You give them something long before they have given you any money in return. And by doing so, you continue to demonstrate your expertise. You allow the relationship to deepen while you're building trust, and you show this person that you understand where they're at, what their needs are, and you genuinely want to help them succeed, whether or not they end up hiring you. And when you shift your focus away from chasing that sale into giving this person even more value, your whole dynamic changes and you're no longer that sleazy salesperson and you turn into a trusted guide who's just looking to build the relationship. And people absolutely love receiving thoughtful gifts. They appreciate the value that they're giving them, that you're giving them. And they tend to respond positively to this genuine connection that you are building. So, what are some practical strategies that we can take so that we are leaving more heartfelt gifts and throwing fewer rocks? The first strategy is super simple. To share with them another resource that would be valuable to them. So you go through the initial consultation and make some notes, right? And as you're looking back through your notes, what were some specific challenges that this individual mentioned? So this is not a canned, pre-planned sort of a thing. Now you can have 3 or 4 that are already set up, ready to go. You just got to figure out which bucket this person belongs in, because I'm all about automation. But it really does need to be something that you can look back on and say, yes, they said that they were struggling with this. I have this free resource I can offer them. This fits in this situation. So go back and recall what challenges they're struggling with or what goals they were trying to achieve. Find a free resource like a blog post you may have wrote, an article from some other source other than you, or a relevant podcast episode that either you recorded or you just got a lot of value out of. It can be a checklist that you created, a template, a worksheet, a series of short videos, but something that directly addresses either the problem or the goal that they talk to you about in that initial conversation. Then you just simply send them a quick personalized email or text and say, hey, really loved our conversation yesterday, last week, this past Tuesday, whatever it is. And I remembered you saying that you were struggling with this area. I have a free resource, an article, whatever that you might find helpful. Here it is. There's no pressure. Just thought you might find this useful as you're considering your next steps. Hope you have a great week. And leave it at that. Now you sort of gently nudge them towards next steps, but not in a give me a call when you're ready to close this sale kind of a way. So there's no sales pitch, there's no pressure. This email is pure value and nothing else. And it's personalized to a specific problem or goal that they spoke to you about. It's a really small, easy to offer gift, but it makes them feel that you were thinking about them, listening to them, and deeply care about their success. Now, strategy number 2 is a little bit more advanced, but it is incredibly powerful. If you are able to take frequently asked questions and answer them in more of a conversation and less of a list bullet point type of situation, or even better, reframe regular objections as frequently asked questions and do it in a conversational manner, you can really get a lot out of this type of a follow-up email. Because a lot of times your potential clients have these questions that maybe they don't want to ask or don't know how to ask. Or they have these nagging little concerns in the back of their minds, but they don't want to voice them. The problem is that these questions or concerns are really holding them back from moving forward on their decision. So maybe they're unsure about what they're going to get out of the investment, how long it's going to take them to start seeing an ROI, or whether your service is actually right for them as an individual. Well, instead of hoping that they ask you these questions or voice the concerns that they have, why don't you just proactively address them so that during this time of them not asking and you not answering, these doubts don't fester into something deeper? But how you go about answering these unasked questions or concerns is so important. You don't want to sound defensive or like you're launching into part two of your sales pitch. You want to frame it as a heartfelt, genuine, authentic conversation. And like you're just simply sharing with them some information that you thought might be helpful. So here's an example of an email you could send. Hey, really enjoyed our conversation whenever that conversation took place. Sometimes after we talk to business leaders like you, there are some questions that pop up pretty regularly. Two things that I often hear are, how quickly can I expect to see results? Or what if I'm not sure this is the right investment for me right now? And I just wanted to quickly share some thoughts. And then you explain the results, the timeline, some past clients. You talk about budgeting, payment options, potential ROI, or maybe some different levels of services, programs that you have. And you can, redirect them to some other resources on your website if that fits in this scenario. And the reason that this is so powerful is because it lets them know that other people have these same questions and they're not alone in their concerns or unsureness. It gives them the information before the questions or concerns fester into something much more ugly. And it demonstrates your transparency and the confidence that you have in your program or service. It also positions you as an expert who really understands where they're at and what roadblocks they might be facing. And it doesn't put them on the spot at all or make them feel pressure in any way. You're giving them the gift of clarity and reassurance. Now, the third strategy that we have is so much fun. It is called social proof, which is where you briefly share a client success story that closely mirrors the situation that this person is in. So again, you might have 3 or 4 of these kind of ready to go, and you just need to figure out which client success story most closely matches the conversation that you had in the sales call. Now, this can be kind of a story with a little bit of a testimonial, or it can be a straight testimonial, but it is really effective because it lets people know that this isn't your first rodeo. You've done this before with great success. Now, you want to keep it value focused and not a testimonial that's really just bragging about how great you are. And you really want to frame it around the situation that this client is going through, or this potential client is going through. So you might say something like, hey, as I was thinking more about your goal of XYZ, it reminded me about this client that I worked with X number of months ago who was facing a similar struggle. And you can even lay that struggle out for them. After implementing our program, they were able to achieve this very specific result. And I just thought this story might ring true to you. Now, if you'd like to schedule a follow-up call to discuss what results you can expect, I'm available next Tuesday at 2 p.m. And guys, this is the kicker. There are some where like the free resource email where it's not really like, okay, here's your next step, right? You're giving them a free resource. The next step is to consume that free resource, right? But eventually you're going to come to an email like this, and you really do want to give them an action that they need to take. Not, if you have any questions, let me know. That's just sissy stuff. You want to say, I'd love to follow up with you. I'd love to schedule a follow-up call for this reason, to discuss the results you can expect, or to get you to the goal that you said you wanted to get to in this amount of time. And then instead of saying, here's a link to my calendar, which a lot of people do, throw out a couple days and times. I'm available next Tuesday at 2 p.m. Or I'm available next Tuesday at 2 p.m. and Thursday at noon. And that makes it really simple for them to just respond back and say, hey, I'm booked Tuesday at 2 p.m., but I have some availability Wednesday at 11. Would that work for you? And you will be surprised the difference in the response rates when you start sending out phrases like this, as opposed to, here's a link to my calendar, find a time that's convenient for you. Or worse, send me a couple of dates that work for you, and I'll let you know what works for me. But in addition to that scheduling sentence that is so important to throw at the end, this client success story or social proof is so powerful because it reinforces the fact that you are credible and that you get results for people just like this potential client. And while you are not directly saying, if you're ready to sign up for the program, here's the link, or here's where you can send me the check, or whatever. The gift that you're leaving them is that you know that you are able to provide value to them. You're proving to them that you've done it before, and you're making it so easy for them to schedule that next step with you. Now, in order for you to fully embrace these changes in your follow-up strategy, you might need to make a little bit of a fundamental mind shift. And to do that, you have to truly embrace valuing relationships over closed transactions. And when you make that mind shift and you go at your marketing and sales as a service, like a way for you to serve people with a servant's heart, I really have seen time and time again that your sales will just go through the roof. Now, some people worry about giving away free gifts like we talked about in strategy number 1. They say, well, if I'm giving away all this stuff for free, why would anyone pay me for my services? But that is a mindset that goes with that chasing the transactions. The reality is that the more value that you provide to people, the more trust you build with them. And the more trust you build with them, the more likely they are to say yes when they're ready. Because the reality is you don't close sales. You just make yourself available when someone is ready to complete the transaction. And you don't get to set that timeline. So I'm certainly not telling you to give away your whole strategy for free. Simply be genuinely helpful, demonstrate your expertise, and show that you care about their success. And yes, some people might consume all of your free resources and never pay you any money, and that's okay too. because we all know that when they do pay for their services, they're going to get so much more value. But for the people who are consuming the free resources with the intent of buying someday, are going to think to themselves, if I'm getting these kind of results and this kind of value for free, imagine what I'm going to get when I start forking over a little bit of my own money. And people are going to remember that, they're going to appreciate it, and they're either going to reward you for that by doing business with you or referring you to other people who have a similar problem that they have. So if you can find a way to stop thinking about this whole follow-up process as this icky, necessary evil that it takes to close a deal and make a sale, and instead start thinking about this as an amazing opportunity to just build a connection with another human being and offer your own gifts as a service to them. So, what is the one thing that you can take away this week from this conversation? I am going to challenge you to identify one client who you have had a sales call with in the recent past, and you either haven't followed up with them or you haven't done a very good job of following up with them. And so instead of sending that generic, just checking in, text or email, find one piece of valuable information that you can share with them. That can be something that you've created yourself, or it can be a podcast episode or something that someone else has created that would still help them with the struggle that they talk to you about. Go ahead and draft an email message that feels personal, heartfelt, and authentically you. Focus on being that helpful resource, deepening the relationship, and then leave them that thoughtful gift instead of throwing rocks at their window. And of course, if you want help developing a complete follow-up system that feels authentic and gets you results, you're in luck, because that's exactly what we do at Limitless Impact Agency. Please book a free strategy session. The link is in the show notes below. We will talk to you about where you are and where you want to be and see if we have a solution that we can provide for you. That's it for this week's episode. I hope that you will stop throwing so many rocks at windows and instead find ways to leave these amazing gifts at your potential client's doorstep. Please don't forget to subscribe to this podcast so that you never miss an episode. And if you found this valuable, please share it with somebody else who might also enjoy what we are talking about here on Quick Business Tips. Until next time, I hope you keep learning and keep growing. I'm Jennifer Swineford with Limitless Impact Agency.